Discussions in this show are for entertainment and educational purposes only and should not be construed as specific recommendations or investment advice. Always consult with your investment professional before making important investment decisions. Securities offered through registered representatives of Cambridge Investment Research, Inc., a broker-dealer and member of FINRA and SIPC. Advisory services through Cambridge Investment Research Advisors, Inc., a registered investment advisor. Cambridge and neither SmartPro Financial nor Bridgeway Wealth are affiliated. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Working Wealth Podcast. I'm Patrick Rogers, and we are super excited to have you joining us today for a conversation with Mr. Penn, the CEO and one of the owners of Payfluence. Is it officially Payfluence HCM or just Payfluence?
Payfluence HCM, yeah.
Payfluence HCM, based out of Greenville, South Carolina here. Really excited to have Penn on. Funny story, we just met this morning, but we have some very good connections. You know, I've worked with his team and with some of the people, his other co-owners of the business, helping clients succeed with finding better solutions for their payroll and employee management needs. And welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you.
Just super excited to have you, especially as we're talking with more business owners and discussing really the challenges and needs of what helps a business run successfully, but more so, I would say the deeper piece of that is how do we have a bigger impact in the world? You know, by running a good business that's profitable and successful, sustainable, can be around for a long time, but also the impact that has on our employees and ultimately, you know, the customers and consumers that are served by that business.
Right.
So there's a much deeper meaning behind this conversation.
Right.
But I want to take time today just to have a breakdown of your story, a little bit of your background, the company as it is today, and talk through, you know, how you guys serve people well, maybe what are some of the challenges in the space you guys are in and how you overcome those or really eliminate those barriers to provide a high quality service for your customers.
Yeah, love to talk. Yeah, absolutely.
So awesome. Well, just to kind of kick us off, you know, tell us a little bit about your backstory. You know, what got you into the payroll and HCM space? Maybe for a lot of people, what does HCM stand for?
Right.
You know, those kind of things.
Good question. What got us into payroll and HCM space? I have to back up a little bit. Where I was in telecommunications 20 years before the last 20 years I've been in payroll.
Okay.
And so I think my backstory starts more with I worked for two Fortune 500 companies coming out of college, both telecommunications, Sprint and MCI.
Okay.
And I was certain that I'd missed the mark in my career. Big company, I really never felt valued. I was pretty certain if I didn't show up, no one would really know. I got to play a lot of basketball during lunch those days because we took long lunches. And I was fortunate, however, to get put on a startup team within MCI called MCI Metro that was going to compete against the Bell monopolies. This is a long time ago, the local telephone monopolies. And there were about 60 of us. And then all of a sudden I felt like these are my people, right? It was a small team. We had clear goals. Every day you came into work, you could see the needle move a little bit. I mean, your contribution and the team's contribution. And it was fantastic. From there, there was a company in Greenville, South Carolina, who was starting the same thing a couple years later, called New South Communications, and I jumped on board with that very early. We ran that for about 8 or 10 years, brought in a lot of private equity money. The markets turned upside down, and there was a good time to sort of exit. And when we did, a friend of mine, David Hudson, and I, who worked together, were looking to do something together. And we're looking independently and looking together. And also another gentleman named John U. Pritchard, who owns Find Great People, was talking to us as well. And John called us in one day and said, I've got an idea for a payroll company. And I went back and told my wife, and she said, there's no way you're going from telecom to payroll. Those are the most boring things you could ever do. And but nonetheless,
thanks, honey.
Yeah,
appreciate that.
but we started talking about it, and two things happened. One is we knew a reoccurring revenue model. So in telecom, we were always small, and we were able to compete against very big companies, something that looks like a monopoly, with a product you didn't touch or sell. You didn't have to have inventory, but everyone had to have it. If you have a business, you have to have some type
Mm-hmm.
of telecom need. So we liked that. We knew that model. We sort of knew that model of sales, implementation, and service. So we began looking for something that had those features to it. Payroll met that. You're largely competing against very, very, very big companies, great companies, ADP, Paychex, companies like that are just incredibly large and successful. They're not agile, but we also have the ability to, it has the same foundation of recurring revenue. It's sales, it's provisioning, it's service. From that standpoint, everyone has to have it if you have an employee. So
Mm-hmm.
we literally read some business cases on it, read a bunch of financial statements, hired a consultant, and jumped into it in 2006.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how we got here because an exit from a former company, and then we liked the business model. We wound up getting into it, and we loved the business. It was a fantastic business. It's very community-oriented in it. You get to know the other business owners. You get to know a lot about their businesses. We move a lot of money. As we did it, even though we're money movers, what we did it relationally. We built relationships, and relationships are still super valuable today, and sort of the foundation of also what we believe in. Nonetheless, we ran this for about 14 years.
Mm-hmm.
During COVID, my business partners wanted to get out. It's a challenging time for everybody. So we sold the company, but had a clawback that I could start a company back a year later. So we got some of the band together. It's a long story, and we hit the ground running. So Payfluence HCM is a 4-year-old company, but we have the soul of maybe a 20-year-old company because of the skill that we have and the people that we were able to bring back and those type of things. So 10 years ago, you call us a payroll company. Today, you call it human capital management because we don't start with employee. We really start with applications. So if you hit a career site on somebody's website, you're possibly in our software already collecting information and routing the interview and collecting the resume and those type of things. Paperlessly onboarding, doing all the payroll and performance reviews and integrations with retirement plans and all kinds of things like that. So it's complete employee management today. And that's what it is.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
And I've heard already like 5 or 6 key nuggets that we could have individual episodes on.
Yeah.
Going back to the fact of, being with MCI and the large organization, you talked about, I'm going to use my words, which is probably a terrible paraphrase, but essentially being a gear versus being the engine.
Right.
Like you're a cog in a wheel.
Right.
You don't feel valued. You don't feel like you're really that instrumental. But then getting put into a smaller team with defined goals, clear vision, that's a huge thing to see that needle move and see progress. As well as when you finally went on your own, I heard you mention just in passing, is having the right people on the team.
Right.
And making sure you're surrounded by the right people in the right environment, aligned again for that common vision, common goal. And that even carries into the way you do business today. And I don't know if you guys have ever dug into this, but I'm just going to throw it out there from maybe like a sales scripting perspective for James or someone else on the team, is your money movers. I've never thought about that until you just said that.
Yeah.
And as a business owner, I want to make sure that my business is the most sustainable as possible by ensuring that the dollars that flow in and flow out do so in an efficient and safe manner.
Right.
And having the human touch, the personal touch of what you guys do and how you do it versus the big guys that are large and successful, yet not agile. I think that's a great word to use there. I have experience dealing with them not being agile for clients in the past. I think that just further sells to me you guys as an incredible solution for the small business owner that is so ingrained with and so tied in with their own business, looking for the right partner, the right collaborator to help them achieve and succeed at the way they need to. Yeah,
and partner is the key word for us there. We're not looking for 18-month relationships. We tell people when they come with us, we want 10 years. We want to get you up and going and have your satisfaction so high the door doesn't open for other competitors, and we have a long-lasting relationship. We don't consider ourselves really a payroll or HCM company or even a software company. When you ask us internally, we compare ourselves to a restaurant. And the reason for that is because if you go downtown Greenville to go eat somewhere, this weekend, you're going to pick a place that has great food. There's no doubt about it. And they're up and down on Main Street, fantastic places.
Right.
You and your wife are going to return to the restaurants with great service
Mm-hmm.
because they know your name. They know you like to have a cup of ice when you sit down. They know you always have this dessert. Whatever it is, the service aspect is why you return. So to us, our business model is sort of two pieces. It's technology, which we have to have. That's the platform we're running everything on.
Mm-hmm.
That's our food, and it's fantastic, right? But we're not putting the business on the food.
Mm-hmm.
We're putting the business on the service aspect of it. That's where we differentiate ourselves. So we believe in one-on-one relationships. We believe in relationships. So when you come to us, you're going to have one point of contact that onboards you. They're going to be your single point of contact you work with from beginning to end. And there's no rushing you, moving you through the steps. Once everything's soaked in and running operationally fine and everything's signed off on, you move to a customer service rep. And this sounds crazy, but we answer phone calls in 3 rings. We answer emails in 4 hours. We're available. Our service team's more like a tier 2 support team. So if anybody's ever worked with a big company, we're not just answering the calls. We're handling 85% of all calls on the call.
Mm-hmm.
And those that we're not handling on the call, we're swiveling in our chair, and we're getting answers and taking ownership and getting it done.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's the service aspect is where we win and separate. The technology you have to have, or you're just not in the game. But we think it's a lot more fun to serve. There's a book, Unreasonable Hospitality.
I was thinking about that
Yeah,
book.
yeah.
Yeah.
And that we read it as a company because there's so many great takeaways of how they want to be number one in food and realized we're really good, but service is where we want to be number one, and
Right.
that tide will come up with us.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So from a modeling standpoint, from an internal standpoint, that's what we look at.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I love the focus on, I'm going to use the word experience, right? Because like you said, the technology is table stakes.
Right.
In our business, I see it the same way, is investment returns are table stakes. The markets are the markets.
Right.
I can't control that. We can influence what your results can be by choosing the right asset allocation, putting the right amounts of money away over time, having those pieces of the plan together. But that's really table stakes. And there's over 300,000 licensed financial advisors across the country as it stands today. The average age is 57, white male. That's just the demographic, right? But everything is a bell curve. And, that means there's a lot of people kind of in the middle, the median, the average, right there. You got some people that are really probably shouldn't be doing it, right? And you have people that really excel at it. And in any business, restaurants, financial planning, HCM, anything else, the core function, if you will, to me, is you have to get that right, because ADP is not going to lose customers. It's their ADP, right? Like they will lose customers, but they're not going to be, losing everyone all at once.
Right.
It's going to be based on experience, based on service, those kind of things.
Right.
Whereas for small businesses like us, like you guys, if we do the core things really well and have a good product, like have a good solution there, and then level up even further, that's where you can make a lasting impact and have those raving fans.
We absolutely. And we say something very similar where, unfortunately we'll never have naming rights on a football stadium. We hope to hire a punter one day.
It could be a high school football stadium.
Yeah.
Right?
Maybe that.
We can make it that our goal, right?
But we want our clients to be our biggest advocates, right? And so, if we have 1,000 clients and someone wants a reference, I'd like to give them 1,000 names. Call any of them, right? And so if you take care of your team will take care of your clients, and they will become your biggest advocates. And as you start a business, it's every day is an adventure for sure. That's why people do it. There's ups and downs of every day. And it's hard to win a new client. It's hard, especially when you're starting and your name's not all out there. Probably about 3 years was a turning point where we were in it for 3 years, and now our phone rings, right? Where people are calling saying, so-and-so said you guys were the ones to go with, right? And you see that advocacy start back and coming, making returns back to us. But they've seen our performance and understand where we differentiate ourselves in the market.
Did you guys have any, so because you were in the industry,
Yeah.
made a successful exit
Right.
and then got back in a couple years later, or
Right.
maybe a year later, were there any specific barriers that most businesses encounter in those first 3 years that you were able to jump beyond or move past at a quicker pace? Because you do have that 20-year soul you talked about.
Yeah.
What does
Absolutely.
that look like?
Yeah. Smarter, faster, stronger.
Mhm.
When you're in business for 14 years, you make some mistakes and you have baggage with it, right? And so we didn't just dust off the playbook and redo 2.0.
Mhm.
The team we brought back, we all separated for a year and worked different places. And we came back together and really did a best of software processes and procedures, right? So
Mhm.
business at its core is people, processes, procedures. And so we felt like actually the time apart and coming back together, we were able to see things a little bit differently
Mhm.
and put things together better. And the harder the client, the better probably we are as far as solving problems. We're really good at something called carrier feeds or transmissions. That's
Okay.
us moving data to the benefit companies and 401k companies. 20 years ago, 10 years ago, you would need to be a very large company to even consider it because of the cost. The cost points have come down. We're very technical savvy from there. We're very big at data moving data from one system to other. We don't like to touch data. The more and more
Mhm.
you touch it, the more and more errors come in.
Right.
But you have clients who work in 6 or 7 different systems, and they want them to talk a little bit. So we have ways of moving data and transferring it so they can talk without the old export, import, and syncing and these type
Mhm.
of things. So we also have something called workflows, which moves data within our system. So workflows, integrations, those type of things, um, uh, we're pretty highbrow on.
Mhm.
And then company culture would be the other part. We had a strong culture in the previous company that we thought we wanted to carry over and also, really drive here as well. So those would be the two things that we sort of jumped over because we knew who we wanted to be a little bit more when
Mhm.
we grew up. We could see that clearer.
Yeah. Can we talk more about the culture?
Yeah, culture.
Yeah.
Uh,
What does that mean? Like high level, what does that mean for you guys? But then also, how do you? Because running a business is hard.
yeah,
I've had some experience hiring and then having to have people not hired anymore.
yeah.
Doing that over the past few years. Building the right team. I know what it's like for me, still kind of on the front end of that. But I'm curious, as an organization, for you guys, how would you define your culture, and then what have been some of those challenges of maintaining or directing that ship in the right direction
Yeah.
over time?
Yeah, no, that's great. Whenever I have lunch with somebody, have a coffee with somebody, I always talk culture. I'm always
Hmm.
fascinated on cultures, and I'll probably walk into 100 different businesses this year as a prospect or a client, and you feel culture. First, I think culture is a feeling.
Hmm.
When you walk in the door, you feel a vibe, and it's either positive or negative. But you can feel the culture of any building you go into. And so we intentionally set the culture. We'll say the meeting starts at the door, right, where you're
Hmm.
going to be greeted and welcomed. So welcome would be one of the cornerstones of our culture. Stepping back a little bit more, I think culture is going to be the soul of your business. It's your personality of your business. It's
Hmm.
why someone wants to come work for you or they don't. It's why a client may want to work with you or not
Hmm.
because of the culture that you're putting together. So our culture is going to be family oriented. It's going to be team oriented. It's going to be results oriented,
Hmm.
uh, and it's going to be fun as well. We spend too much time at work not to enjoy it.
Hmm.
So we have a company dog. We have a ping pong table. We have a foosball table, but we gave that away. We have a wheel. We have a gong. You know, we do cookouts. None of those are our culture. Those are things that just attach themselves to it.
Hmm.
I think high integrity would be probably the biggest part of it.
Hmm.
So that's how I define culture a little bit with you.
Yeah. And then, have there ever been any times in the past where you've identified, just for whatever reason, cultures may be trending off and you have to bring it back on? Is that something you've encountered, or?
Yeah, I think you always encounter that a little bit. As you
Okay.
grow, you encounter that to keep the culture going. Yeah, I think a lot of a lot of touch meetings.
Hmm.
We never have a company meeting without talking culture. we never have a company meeting without having a culture minute at least in it, and so you continue to drive it in everything you do. I believe in speed of the leader, speed of the team. Attitude of the leader, attitude of the team. So it's we hire to it as well. We want people who are smart. We want people who can work independently. We want people who can work in a team, but they have to fit the culture. And the culture is going to be a service culture predominantly, right? You have to have a service heart. You enjoy answering the phone. You enjoy closing up an issue with somebody. And so as far as big off track, no, but it's a day-to-day watch. Culture will get you through situations that you didn't think you could get through. They could get you further than you think you could have ever gotten. But it is about everyone buying in, not one person championing it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it makes me think of, you said like the kind of a daily adjustment. It's like the rudder on the ship.
Yeah.
You're constantly going a little bit left, a little bit right, a little bit left, a little bit right,
Right.
Just to keep it on track towards the heading you're going to.
Right.
That's great. So thinking about the actual client interaction or customer interaction for you guys.
Yeah.
Service, again, is so important for that relationship. And I think a lot of service-based businesses, they do overcome, maybe in not a positive way, they overcome a lacking core product because they do overserve. Like our industry is a lot of people will work with the advisor because they like the advisor, even though they're not really getting results or high-quality advice.
Right.
Very sticky business.
Right.
A lot of times in the SaaS or in the sales or subscription-based service industry, we'll say, you have that kind of thing. So as a potential client is evaluating their current offering and trying to decide, should I make a move? Or I feel like I should make this move, but I just have a hang up on getting over that ledge.
Yeah.
What are some of the things you think are important for them to know to maybe release some of that baggage? We can reuse that word in this context. Is they got some baggage from just making a change in the past.
Yeah.
Or they've got some baggage from, how am I actually going to make this happen?
Right.
Like we're looking at moving our CRM back to a CRM we had 3 years ago because we need the functionality.
Right.
And I should have done the move a year ago, but I didn't have the team, just transparently, did not have the team that I could trust to make it happen without me having to be involved 24 hours a day.
Right.
So that was baggage for me. So I'm curious, as people are looking at a new HCM solution for their business, what are some of those things you guys do to help them get over that ledge?
One thing's in the sales process. So when James is out selling and he comes back and says they're interested, but they had a terrible implementation, in 1976.
Yeah.
But they can't get
it's
over
all by
it.
paper.
Yeah. And so we team sell and our whole team sells, right? That doesn't mean they're out knocking on doors and doing things like that. But he'll take in the person who's going to implement the deal and say, hey, we've already identified, William, he's going to do this. And William will be in the meeting with the client. And talking to someone operationally as opposed to sales is very helpful because I'm going to tell you how the next month is going to go. We're going to get logins, we're going to pull data, and we're going to do side-by-sides, we're going to do parallels, and we're going to pull transcripts, and we're going to look at everything, and we're going to be meeting with you and sharing with you, but it's not going to be a heavy lift on your part, right? So we're going to paint a picture, put together a timeline, and introduce them to different people. Maybe during the sales process, we'll introduce them to a customer service rep. Again, the person who's going to be the front door to our building over the next 10 years, right? The person they always see and always talking to, introduce them. Now they get to know James and they know William and they know Anna or whomever else, right? And then all of a sudden it just feels like this is the right way to go. I'm comfortable with this. And so availability, again, is big too. So in this process, they know James, they know Anna, they know William, they have my phone number. They feel like, well, I know where you are too. I can come, I can call you, I can text you if I need you. You've got it. So we have, if we have 1,000 clients, they all have my cell phone number. The only thing they ever get is a referral on it. It's not crazy.
That's powerful.
But people want to know, if I need you once a year, can I get you?
Yeah.
If I have a crazy question or I need to do something, are you available? And as a small business, absolutely, we're available. So that's a little bit of the overcoming that we would do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So let them meet the team.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like what you shared there about the phone because, like in our industry, occasionally I'll have someone who's a prospect who says, "Well, hey, can I talk to some of your clients to get feedback?"
Yeah.
And it's different for us because I have to say, well, per SEC regulations, I can't share client information. That's part of our guidelines and our
Right.
requirements in terms of our industry, or at least the way those rules are being enforced on us with our firm, right?
Right.
But what I do tell people is I rarely have a client leave, which either means I'm charging too little or we're doing a really, really good job. Both of those, in my mind, are good for the client,
Right.
right?
Right.
But the fact that for you, colloquially speaking, you're only getting those phone calls to say, "Hey, I got this guy. He
Right.
needs your help."
Right.
To me, that speaks volume, and that's a story that you can share consistently. Is like the restaurant example. I've never had a bad experience
Right.
because you can still have a steak that maybe got undercooked or overcooked,
Right.
but if the experience is they fix it and maybe they comp you that cocktail or that bottle of wine
Right.
to make it right, that's to me is what makes that
100%
relationship
sure. Yep.
so much stronger and so much stickier
Yeah.
over time.
Issues are opportunities for that very point.
Mm-hmm.
When you move as much data and you do so many calculations, and there will be an issue. Right. It's impossible to say it'll never happen. It's the way you handle the issue. Do you hide or are you available? How fast do we react? And so the good thing is, most issues can be fixed very quickly, and we can review process procedures to make sure they don't occur again.
Mm-hmm.
But the way you act and the way you're available will endure a client to you much longer than if you'd never had the issue, because they're like, well, I know when something happens, I also know where they, how well they handle it and how they owned it. And so, yeah, issues are never wanted, but they're opportunities in themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that. I wonder maybe taking a little pivot towards, again, more of your personal business experience, talking to those owners who have been in business for a while and
Yeah.
maybe they're doing really, really well in the experience. They have really good customer relationships. They're consistent, their business is growing, but maybe they've hit a wall personally in the sense of they're starting to look at what does that next transition look like? Maybe a business exit, a sale in the future, trying to line themselves up for their opportunity to take the enterprise value they've created over time and turn that into independent wealth by transitioning out.
Yep.
Is there anything from your experience with that as it relates to Payfluence and what you guys offer with HCM or not that you think you could speak to for those business owners that are looking at that transition ahead?
I think those would probably be better plans for you to lay out for them. I've had, if you're looking to transition, I'd say, get ahead of it and have a wealth manager to help you get a plan together. Mm-hmm. I think in a couple instances where I may have been in that boat, you work so hard and you're so busy, and then when it happens, maybe you hadn't prepared for what's next as far as how best to handle the money and how best to keep it working for you and what you want to do. And so I think just preparation for the potential of all of a sudden getting a lump sum of money and how to handle it properly would probably be the best advice I'd give.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Is it just being proactive?
Being proactive.
Being prepared.
Yeah.
So part of the reason I'm asking that question too is connecting it back to what you guys do on a as your core service.
Yeah.
Is again, to kind of relate back to my business is I could sell my business today.
Right.
And I could be in that situation.
Right.
And we would be fine for the future. But I can work strategically over the next couple of years to increase that enterprise value by having the right systems, the right tools, the right processes in place.
Yeah.
And to me, thinking for you guys is just working on that strategic planning side of the business and actually increasing the enterprise value. A key factor could be, do I have the right partners in play?
Right.
Is my hiring process as smooth as it should be? Am I getting the right people on the team because I have a good flow of getting the right applicants, evaluating those applicants, onboarding them, and then being able to run payroll sustainably.
Yeah.
I think a common problem that I see with business owners who are exiting or preparing to exit is they've never thought about, well, what happens with my QuickBooks data?
Right. Right.
All my payroll is through XYZ platform.
Yeah.
What happens if we change, or if we're with a large payroll provider that has bundled services like retirement plans and they're selling to another corporation? Well, what happens with all of that?
Yeah.
And the reality is they move payroll. Those large corporations are not keeping the retirement plans or other things in-house.
Yeah. So we can definitely help streamline probably almost anyone's payroll process. That's one of the key things we do. We try to save a little bit of money. We also try to save them time. We can also make sure they're in compliance. Well, which is maybe something someone doing on their own could not be and not aware of it. So when you're going through a due diligence, there could be some outstanding tax payments and some other penalties and interest that may raise some flags that they would not want. And then again, we can probably help better filter candidates coming in, like you said, with using something like applicant tracking, which if you have maybe 50 employees or more, you probably should be using to help bring in good candidates. There's all types of, when people say, well, I don't have job descriptions. Well, within it, there's an AI component that will write you a job description. There's also a component that, will match resumes against the description on the job description. So if you have 40 candidates, it'll rank them as they're coming in of which ones are potentially the best matches. So you spend your time on those. So you can work on the quality of your candidate coming in and cleaning up their hiring profile as well. You can give all your employees a world-class experience. You don't have to be huge to have a world-class experience as an employee of an employer. So we paperlessly onboard everybody, which means when I'm starting, I don't have 52 pages of paper to sign day one.
Yeah.
And the copier breaks down, so I can't print 3 or 4 pages. And so we never have a whole deck on you. You paperlessly on board, you create your W-4, you create your I-9, you sign the handbook. You also put in your shirt size and what kind of cake you like for your birthday. So you get some personal information as well. It's good to use. And it takes about 15 minutes. And the new employee thinks, this feels really good, right? This is a good experience for me to start out at. And then the ability to connect with them to the benefits and to be able to connect with them to retirement. So data flows properly and there's no surprises as well. I think from a payroll standpoint, you always want things to be boring, right? I want to pay people exactly what they should be paid.
Yeah.
And I want the information to move exactly to where it needs to go. That there's not ripples. And so you can walk into our office on Friday. Most people get paid on Fridays. In the older days, the phones would be ringing off the hook with questions and possibly concerns. Today, it's quiet, and it's because of the processes, procedures, tools that we put into place that allows things to repeat again and again and not cause surprises on payday. Yeah.
Yeah. Judging your success based on how little the phone rings.
Yes.
Is incredible. That seems like a theme, right?
Yes.
It's a good theme.
Yeah. Quiet's good.
Yeah. That's great. So what if you had to put into words, I'm sure you guys have a mission statement or a vision statement for the company. If you had to share what that mission or that direction you're going is for everyone who's listening, how would you sum that up?
Yeah, so probably our mission just let's go. As you start something, let's just go, right? And we have clear goals that we want to get to. How we get there, we don't always know, right? We know we want to go A to G, but how B, C, D, E fit into that, we work on as we go. And so we know we're going to grow. We know we're a growth company. We know we're going to serve. We know we're a service company. And so we model everything around that and build it around. But as far as our mission, it's let's go. There's more tied to that as well, as far as how we take care of our team, how we take care of our clients. But those would probably be the easiest, way to phrase it. I don't think it has to be complex or long. I had a previous mission statement was just do the right thing, right? They held up for like 3 years, and we needed more detail.
Yeah, right.
So we'll probably draw it out as we go on, but that's maybe what I'd say today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like results focused, agile,
Yeah.
get the job done,
Yeah.
do the right thing,
Yeah.
all those things.
Yeah. And enjoy doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's where a lot of businesses struggle is, and I've been there myself, is try to overanalyze and redesign the same wheel 17 different times because you feel like that's the important thing. But the reality is just going out and talking to people and helping them,
Yeah.
Understanding their priorities and solving their problems is really what makes that wheel roll instead of just sit there.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so how do people find you guys, and what's the process once they find you to actually get on board?
Yeah. So we're actively selling, and so but we sell through and with a lot of others. We sell to the same people that accountants do, or that benefit providers and retirement plans and fractional CFOs and fractional HR, and so we network a lot, and then hopefully if someone turns over opportunity when they're working with a client and they ask how's payroll going, and they say, well, let me tell you how, what just happened.
Yeah.
That we're the first name that they think of, and so I think so we're intentional with driving ourselves out into the marketplace. We work through and with a lot of great partners and just folks who we work well with. So that's how we're found most.
Mm-hmm. So it really starts with that interpersonal relationship.
It does.
And being the top of mind solution.
Yeah. It does.
And I can say from my personal experience, that's how I think of you guys. If I hear that a business owner just got a report from the SC due, right?
Yeah.
For example,
Right.
of, hey, your payroll taxes haven't been paid in 3 years.
Yeah, it's a good time to call us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially when you've been getting drafted those payments, right?
Yes. Yes.
That's
where's the money?
That's
Yeah.
a real problem. Like where'd it
absolutely.
go?
Absolutely.
No, but this is incredible. And I really appreciate your time coming in to talk about the company and a little bit of your story and share maybe this is a beginning of further conversations
Absolutely.
where we can dive deeper into the actual solutions you guys provide and how we can actually partner with other folks, right?
Great.
Because I know you guys have been a great partner for me in my business and my clients. I have only received glowing remarks from the clients that work with you guys.
Fantastic.
So I just want to share that with you and really appreciate the fact that we can extend our reputation and trust to your company.
Well,
It means a lot.
Yeah.
So maybe just in closing real quick, what is y'all's website and maybe phone number people can reach you guys at?
Yeah, so websites, www.payfluencehcm.com.
Okay.
And then, a phone number. I'll always give my cell phone number. I don't know if that's a good idea.
You can do the office number if you want. Yeah, that's you start getting a lot of those phone calls.
Yeah. So, honestly, I don't know our phone number.
That's okay. You can go to the website.
I don't know my wife, but
yeah.
I don't know my wife's phone number either. Yeah, no, it's in my phone.
Yeah,
we can call.
Yeah.
And
So go to the
Kelly
website.
will answer. Yes.
Payfluencehcm.com.
Yeah.
That'll get you to the right people.
Yeah, absolutely.
And got a great team.
Phone's
James,
gonna be answered in
Anna.
3 rings, and we'll get you routed to the right people.
Perfect.
Yeah, I'd love to hear from anybody.
Awesome.
Okay.
Great. Well, thank you so much for joining us again. And for anyone listening and watching, thanks so much for being here. If you need any kind of HCM or payroll solutions, I highly recommend chatting with Payfluence and getting that resolved for you, which also is not just, business owners with teams of 10 to 50 solopreneurs, people that have running QuickBooks Online, that kind of stuff. Y'all can definitely take over that and provide a better service.
We have 1 employee to 2,000 employee clients that we work with every day.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So you guys have a solution for anyone who's watching this, right?
Absolutely.
But please reach out, let us know, review, like, share the episode. We love your feedback on that. And if there's anything else we can do for you guys, let us know. Thanks for joining. Discussions in this show are for entertainment and educational purposes only and should not be construed as specific recommendations or investment advice. Always consult with your investment professional before making important investment decisions. Securities offered through registered representatives of Cambridge Investment Research, Inc., a broker-dealer and member of FINRA and SIPC. Advisory services through Cambridge Investment Research Advisors, Inc., a registered investment advisor. Cambridge and neither SmartPro Financial nor Bridgeway Wealth are affiliated.